I'm here this evening with Brian. I didn't catch your surname.
Cash.
Cash from Halves. They played a blistering set on Thursday evening in the Set Theatre. How did you find the set, first of all?
As an actual venue, I think for about 5 hours we just kept saying, this is amazing, this is amazing. It's visually stunning, and it's actually pleasure to play there, absolute pleasure.
And how did it feel coming back? Because everybody talks about acoustics from the perspective of the audience.
I mean, like, the stuff that we do can be quite dynamic at times, and kind of just whenever like everything kicked in big and loud, we did feel it, and kind of I think we had as much fun, if not more, than the audience. Just kind of for us to be up on the stage and play. It was great fun, really good.
And you're due back to see us again down to Kilkenny at some point.
Yeah, the date is getting finalised as we speak, but I think it's going to be one of the Saturdays in November in the set again.
So more to look forward to.
Definitely, we'll be back with the album.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to ask you. I know you've a number of EPs now. You've the smaller 3-track and the one that I've been playing on the radio a fair bit.
Or the 7-track.
The 7-track is wonderful.
Thank you very much.
How will the album differ, or will there be different elements?
It's much better. It's much better. No, we decided to kind of the EPs. We just kind of threw. Our first EP was our first 3 songs we wrote as our first demo. We'd never even taped a rehearsal before. We just decided to get it out, and then with the album, we really wanted to sit down and choose our songs carefully. Like, there's no songs from the EPs. It's just brand new, and we're focusing a lot more on like brass, vocal harmonies and strings, and like the electronics have gotten better, but also where we recorded over in Canada, we had access to the nicest equipment we could have dreamed of. Like, it was amplifiers from the 1930s and old guitars and Hammond organs, and we just used it all to make this kind of big. It just kind of sounds like all of us live in a room, which it was on old tape. So it just has a nice.
So I was going to ask you. I mean, you went to analog equipment as well for the recording.
It was all 2-inch tape.
There's this big debate about digital versus analog, and is it one of those things that you just feel there's a huge difference between it? It's very hard to define what it is, though.
I mean, I suppose personally I would be kind of a bit of a traditionalist. I've been vinyl now since I was 13, and it's just kind of, I like the big artwork and I like the process about it. But I mean, digital is great if you're looking for a clean, polished sound. It's perfect, but just for this particular album, we wanted it to sound a little bit unique and a little bit kind of haunting, and we tried very kind of off the wall techniques to mic things and stuff like that, and just when you hear it back, and hopefully when people hear it now in October, it won't particularly sound like an Irish record, or it won't particularly sound like a new record. We like the idea of someone finding it in a shop and not knowing where it came from, and that's what it sounds like to us anyway. So.
Right. I mean, it doesn't strike me that you have any obvious influences to say, and for Irish bands, they tend to be either traditional music or classical music, Irish classical music. It strikes me that you've very deliberately stepped back and just focused on your own sound. Did you come together with that shared idea?
I mean, like the way we started the group, before we even kind of played a note, we kind of sat down and kind of we kind of drew up the manifesto, and it was kind of how we wanted to approach music. And it's basically, like, at the time we were a 4-piece, and it was a collective process, and it was, I mean, I think at the start we had certain influences, and they were showing on the recordings, which the album, it's just a next step further. It's our own kind of sound, and it's just down to, I think, there's no kind of set rules as to, we need a rock song or this should be this. It just see kind of how it goes, but we tend to, it's kind of hard to explain, but we write songs with kind of the production in mind and how the overall thing will sound, and then we kind of think about the notes later almost.
Right.
We kind of treat them as pieces, but they turn out as songs. So there's a kind of a nice balance in it. It's hard to explain. Would
you score these things out, though? That's another question I was going to ask you, because it seems very orchestral in places, and it seems the layers. Okay, you can deliver them very quickly with electronics and on stage kind of loop pedals and that kind of stuff. That's very mainstream now. But when your creative process, do you have an idea, a mood, a sound, as you say, a feel for something, and then, well, what can we layer on top of it?
Yeah, but it's odd, because like now that the 3 of us tend to work in kind of completely different ways. I mean, like Ellis, one of the guys, he's got like a very quick intellectual mind when it comes to music, and has studied it, and he would score out all the string parts and the brass parts, whereas myself, I don't know anything about music on paper, and the only way I can write music is if I sit down with a looping pedal and just write the harmonies and stuff like that. But I mean, someone like one of the songs that we have, it just started out as a guitar riff that was written 2 years ago, and we really liked that, and we're like, okay, well, you know, this should be a very string heavy, choral heavy piece. And then we had an idea to do a duet, and we have a duet on the album, and it's just kind of, we just sit down casually and go, well, this song should have, you know, a barrage of strings, and then 6 months later we'll just go down the road and record 32 string players and they're on the album, kind of thing. It's just, we kind of always tend to just dream big and try and get it. So like I think there's 2 songs in the album where we wanted to have a choir of just women, but singing very, very softly. So we came down to Kilkenny and went up to the School of Music and got 27 very, very patient ladies to sing. It just sounds brilliant. So we kind of, we try not to be lazy about it and just kind of go.
But it seems like you have an idea, you park it, but you have it done in such a way that you can come back to it and say, well, okay, we can do this now. But is there any room then for, we'll say in a live setting, obviously you're bounded when you're working with loops and particularly with beats. I mean, everybody has to lock into that, or, you know. But is there room within the live for an improvisation or for trying an idea that one of you had back when you were putting the song together or putting the piece together?
It's odd because like live we have to kind of stick quite rigidly to the electronics, just for like they're just set in stone. But there's a couple of pieces now, like we ended with one the other night in the set where it's quite free, and the guys just play the brass to how they feel and stuff. But I mean, down the road we would love to expand and, you know, bring, like we've done some shows now with quartets, and they've just been some of the most fun shows we've done. And we'd like the album songs now that we have to release, we have new versions of, and we like the live versions are always different to the. I
was going to ask you that,
yeah, because I mean, like there's one song where there's I think it's 8 cellos, 16 violas, and 8 violins. Obviously, we can't do that by a massive budget. But we thought of different ways to do it, and even we, for the gig on Thursday, we resurrected the first song we ever wrote, and now it's a different version than what's on the EP. It's now a brass version as opposed to the string version, and we just kind of, we like to kind of keep updating things so that we're not just coming out playing the same song we released in 2007.
Well, there would be a danger, I mean, that it becomes almost like a classical piece, and there's a certain, you must follow this pattern, because as I was saying earlier on, it's bounded by the electronics, and particularly with the loops and beats, everybody has to lock in. But I mean, would your ambition be to go beyond that as well as strings, then to take the loops out of it and go for, okay, well, let's call it acoustic or organic drums? And
well, I mean, like I mean, we haven't even started thinking about the kind of the next album, but I mean, there's no kind of set thing in what we do that we rely on. I mean, like we even kind of pulled back on the album the kind of electronic end of the beats. Well, like we started like basically like all the Reason files or all the set, you know, the electronic drum samples. There's none of that on the album. Ellis, our drummer, went out and spent weeks banging things and sampling, and so it's all organic. And then I think maybe 2 years down the road, if we wanted to do a show without beats and just like we would absolutely love to do a show in the concert hall and just have, you know, full on orchestra and just see what happens, whether we just make, you know,
a beautiful noise.
Yeah, I mean, like we'd love to do film work and do some scores, or we'd love to do an EP of just intense rock songs, or, you know, something. It's nice kind of having no one telling us what to do, because we just go, all right, might as well just do what we want, and
there's a freedom in that.
It's pretty freedom, you know. It's, you know, yeah, we're broke, but, you know, we have our ambitions somewhat get fulfilled, so it's, you know, it's good.
Could you see yourself coming back to Kilkenny now? I've just come from St. Canice's, which is a beautiful, beautiful space. Do you see yourselves coming back in a couple of years to take on St. Canice's?
We would love to, and we will try and drop as many hints to get that happening. But I mean, like I was there last year for Amina and Katie Kim, and that was just such a treat to see that, you know. And so I mean, hopefully next year, the year after,
drop a few hints
and try and get you know, 27 ladies from up the road to come down and sing on a couple of songs. Would be great. Yeah.
Excellent. Brian, it was great to meet you.
Thanks very much.
Continued success.
Thank you very much, and thanks for playing us.